Hi, my name is Mark, and again this video is coming out in a couple of weeks after I'm recording this. For me, this is the second week of quarantine. I don't know how things are going when you're watching this video, but let's hope things are better. But because I'm in quarantine, like everybody else, or like everybody else is supposed to be, I decided to maybe work on some things that I left on my notes, like either for video material or even for stuff that I wanted to learn. And I noticed this lick by Dummy that, for those who've been following my channel for a while, a couple of months ago actually, back when I used to do this series called Guitarist Week, where I basically just updated you guys on what things I thought were cool in the music industry, or what sort of things I thought you should work on that, or you should check out. And one of those videos was actually an old video from back in 2016, this funk fight between Lewis Cole and Dummy. If you haven't checked that video out, like I mentioned in that video, it's really cool. They are amazing players, and they have some really shreddy, tasty licks, and of course it's very funky, so it's pleasing to the ears, let's say. And even though I could transcribe the whole video and learn a lot from it, there was this specific lick that was like, damn, that's funky. Definitely sounds sick in the context of her solo. It's a little bit weird, a little bit outside sounding, but I think that's why it picked out of my ears. So yeah, this is the lick we're going to learn. And after I slow it down and sort of teach you how to play it, I'll sort of break down how I think about it and how maybe you can use that sort of context in your own licks and solos, or maybe how you can apply it in other situations. But before I do, I just want to say, if you can, please subscribe to the channel and turn on all the notifications. As you're probably aware, YouTube acts a little bit weird. Even if you subscribe to the channel, those channel's videos may really not show up in your subscription box. And even if you ring the little notification bell thingy below, you still really will not be notified of that channel's content. So if you want to sit into my videos, not only do I suggest subscribing and turning on all the notifications, but also follow me on social media. Not only do I post some exclusive stuff there, like improvised solos and jamming cover backing tracks, and generally wherever I'm up to at the moment, but I always post it about my videos. Links for usual suspects will be below, but in general at Mark Guitar. And since you're down there, please consider leaving a like and share this video on social media. I'd highly appreciate it. But getting back to the video itself, basically I'll play the lick at regular speed, I guess, and then I'll slow it down and I'll make sure I get some taps for it. Okay, so to give you some context, even though they sort of modulate a little bit sometimes, I think they're probably thinking about something like E flat 7 or E flat minor 7, something like it. And if you look at our lick in the context of E flat, we start out with a triad or an arpeggio, but it's not really an E flat that we start with. We actually start with a B flat arpeggio. So we do B flat, D flat, and F. And then after it, we go around this sort of A major triad. We start out with the third, in this case the C sharp right here. We go to A, and then we go to E. So until now we have... And you may think that sounds a little bit weird. It's kind of like if you're playing those horror movie sort of chords. Those very tense, almost spooky chord progressions. And then in the next part we do some sort of, maybe some sus4 arpeggios. It may sound a little bit weird, but I'll explain it later. After we do this A major thing, we do... Note-wise, you're basically playing D flat, and then I would guess maybe A flat, and then we go back to E flat. And I tried to look at a bunch of positions on how to play this. You can play it in this sort of position, or you can play it in this sort of position. It mostly depends on how much you're comfortable with picking and how much you want to pick everything, because if you do the stretchy part, you can sort of do it legato-wise if you're more into that sort of thing. And again, I guess the position you're most comfortable with will also depend on your picking technique style. For me, it works better to do the stretchy part, even though I don't really like to do stretchy stuff, mostly because it's the same position and it's much easier to do. To me, it feels much more easier to do that than to do... So yeah, the notes are those, but you can experiment with positions. So after this, we basically repeat the same sort of shape, just a semitone below. and you're going to do that chromatic shape another 2 times. Just between the 3rd time and the 4th time you do it, there's a little pause in there. If I play the lick again, you can hear that it's not just... There's actually a pause in there. And that sort of thing helps the lick breathe a little bit, especially in this case because it's very chromatic and you're actually implying some fancier harmony over that sort of E-flat groove thing. I guess that if you're doing this sort of a thing, maybe you shouldn't go all out at once. Even Guthrie Govan has said before in his crazy, wonderful, slippery thing, tapping lick. If you look at those arpeggios, there are some gaps in there, there are some little pauses. Because if you're going to do a boring, shred-tastic moment for the audience, at least give them something to think about. Don't just burst out in notes because you can. Try to do something interesting with it. And I'm not sure if Dami used this thought process, but it can make sense even if she didn't. You can use that sort of thought process for yourself. I think it works, and I think it makes sense for you to not just go all shred-tastic all the time. So after this section... right as you get to that C note, you sort of do this bluesy walk down lick. If you do it correctly, it can sound very keyboardish, and of course they're playing it on a keyboard, so it makes sense, right? But it's not just that, especially if you had some double stops in there. And after that little chromatic walk line, you do this hammer on between A flat and A. You just send this like sort of E flat pentatonic. And then you sort of go up that blues scale sort of position. And then you can finish it with a blues lick. She keeps going, but I thought I would end it at that. So if you play the whole lick slowly, we got something like... something like it. If we play it up to speed, we got something like... And again, I told you before that this lick had some interesting chromatic approach to harmony. We were sort of implying some fancier harmony. And again, remember that we're in that sort of E flat sort of thing. And I told you before that over that E flat, we started with a B flat minor arpeggio. So you're basically implying this sort of thing. Then after it, we go for that sort of A major sort of a thing. So you're implying this sort of harmony. Which is pretty interesting, especially thinking that you had this chromatic movement of going like... And then after that A major triad sort of a thing, you sort of did this, right? That sort of thing that I called sort of a sus4 sort of a thing. You don't know if it's a major chord or a minor third. We're suspending that third with its fourth. You sort of have this A flat, G sharp, sus4 sort of thing. And then what do? We keep descending it. So just go descending on sus4 chords after that. If you think about it in that sort of E flat vamp sort of context. If in the context of a vamp you did something like... that little thing that I did there of... that's what we played in our lick. I did this, and that's this. So again, even if it sounds a little bit weird and it looks a little bit weird, you can sort of use this concept to create your own licks without really having to think much, oh, how can I make this sound weird, or how can I make this sound musical or anything. Just think about the context of a vamp. If you do it in E, because I think it's better for us and standard tuning guitar players. We're doing a vamp in E, right? Then I went to D. Then I did this like sort of chromatic walk line thing. You could be jamming in E. And that little fancy part of it there, this is just our D7 chord, but played in an arpeggio fashion. And then after this right here is that E flat 7 that we did the chromatic walk line with. So again, even though it was not exactly the same rhythm, maybe each chord didn't exactly take the same time as we would do with our just walk line thing and whatever, I think you can probably get what I mean. If you think something sounds cool in a chordal context, it will probably sound cool in a solo context. Again, it will probably depend on the situation, like if you're playing over like a blues sort of 12-bar blues sort of a thing, this sort of a lick, maybe isn't your more traditional blues old-fashioned lick, so it probably won't work in every situation, right? But if you're just trying to experiment and find some new interesting things, especially in the context of Dummies and Lewis Cole's funk pedal thingy, where they go over that vamp and they sort of build on top of it, like the rhythm changes a lot and they do some interesting extensions here and there. If you're just doing that and you're trying to make your E flat vamp just not always boring, like trying to imply some more interesting stuff, maybe that's some sort of a thing that you can do. And again, I did this whole chromatic thing, but maybe you could have done some other things, like again, if you're in E, this time I went E, F, and E flat, right? I don't know, maybe next time I'm playing over E, maybe I could try to outline those chords as well, like. I could start with something in E, and then move to something like an F7, and then move down to that E flat, and then go back to the E7 sort of a thing. It really depends on how you're feeling at the time, and I guess it depends on what sort of sound you're looking for. But yeah, I think this sort of idea is something that can work really well for you, especially and because we're in quarantine. These sorts of lick ideas, taking something that you already know and try to apply it in some different ways, I think it's something that's pretty interesting and can sort of get you out of the rut if you're feeling like it. But yeah, these are just my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please tell me what you think, if you think there was something I missed or something I didn't explain properly or something that maybe I should do a video on. Just leave it in the comment section below, and yeah, I'll either address it in the comments or I'll do a video about it later. And yeah, again, thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow me on social media, and if you can, share this video on social media, I'd highly appreciate it. If you can, go check out some of my other videos. I do videos like this one, but I also do videos on other stuff, like either music stuff or guitar-related stuff, so yeah, you can go check it out if you want to. And yeah, before I bore to death the ones of you who stayed this far, let's just end it with this. Cheers!